Hello, welcome to episode 17 of the Design Tales, the Holy Moly edition. I'm Ambah, I design patterns for knitters, and in this podcast I talk about my designs as they're published, and occasionally I will dive into some older designs and talk about those as well. I like to share a bit about the design process, the inspiration, talk about yarn and anything else that might be relevant or helpful to the project, and hopefully inspire you to knit your own version. And today's episode is to introduce my brand new design, the Holey Moley cardigan, which I'm wearing a version of, the longer version and the cropped version. To start, I'll get up and give you a little bit of a closer look so you can see. We've got a holey lace pattern that is angled on a bias. You can see more clearly here. Open front design. I'm wearing the longer length option, which comes to about mid-thigh, and the shorter length, the green cropped version, sits around here. The back, as you can see, that bias pattern. And the pattern continues down the sleeve to a point. And a little swap. Here's the cropped version. Holey Moley was inspired by a design I created a couple of years ago called the Twist cardigan, and I'll post that up as well. Twist also offered a variety of lengths. There was the cropped thigh, same as this one, and then a knee length version, which was designed with Advent or festive yarn kits in mind, with mini skeins. And knitters are able to use several mini skeins if they want, perhaps for the cropped version, or just to do a striped panel accentuating the bias. Or the full length version is great for using up a whole 24 colour mini skein festive set. The shaping for Holey Moley and Twist cardigan are the same. They're both top down, knit in one piece, knit to the yoke depth required, divide for sleeves, then knit straight down for the body, and then pick up the sleeve stitches and knit the sleeves after, then the front collar. I called the Twist cardigan the Twist because I see it as a twist on the classic raglan shaping. It's still that top down shaping and shaping the separate sleeves. However, by giving it a little twist and having the increases down the centre of the back and the top of the sleeves instead of the traditional raglan points, which would be here and here at the back, it gives an opportunity for play with colour and pattern that creates this chevron detail and is quite fun and effective. Both projects very much feel like a shawl when you start knitting them. They start with a small cast on here at the top of the neck, and it gradually grows out as stitches are increased down the centre back and then along the top edge. And it creates a biased fabric, so the stitches are running this way instead of up and down. And then it gives that opportunity to add colour or pattern and accentuate that bias shaping. I had a lot of fun with the Twist cardigans. I made 3 of them and could keep going. However, I was thinking about a summer version when it was summer here in Australia. That was over 6 months ago now. I started to think about a linen, lightweight, lacy version of the Twist. And Holey Moley is a result of that. After exploring a few lace ideas, I opted for a fairly straightforward eyelet mesh and love the result. I'm really happy with this design. Initially, I started with the linen summer weight version. And once I'd finished the linen version, I pretty quickly decided that I would like a wool longer length version as well. And honestly, I would also love a wool cropped version. I keep meaning to knit myself one. I feel like in these cooler days, it would certainly fit nicely in my wardrobe. It would be that little piece to lay out on top of other things on the cooler days. And I find myself wanting to reach for it. So I can certainly see a wool version in my future. Holey Moley offers 2 sleeve length options. There's a full length sleeve or a 3/4 length sleeve, which I opted for on the cropped version here. The cropped version could also have a full length sleeve. I would do that for a winter or wool weight version of this project. Or maybe I'd do a cropped one as well. I don't know, there's so many possibilities. So 2 lengths and 2 sleeve lengths. And then it's easily customizable to suit your own body measurements. If you have longer or shorter arms, you can make the sleeves longer or shorter. And same with the body, you could keep it cropped, make it longer. There really are quite a lot of possibilities there to create a length that suits you best. So a bit more on the construction. Once the project is knit to the desired length, there is that bias shaping, which leaves a void that needs to be filled in. Otherwise, the cardigan would be cropped right up to the underarm, or depending on how long you make this shaping part. And so to fill that in, the pattern includes a short row section for both of the sides to fill in the gap there, and also the same goes for the sleeves. For the long sleeve option, I knit the sleeves all the way down to here with a bit of the gap that I wanted for the ribbing length. And then this section here was filled in with the short rows. Short rows are German short rows. They're pretty straightforward. It's nothing to be daunted by. It's just part of a process of filling in that space. So please don't be put off by the mention of short rows. However, a caveat I should mention is that the eyelet section of the pattern is charted only. And I know that some people just are not able to use charts, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to provide written instructions for that part of the pattern. To accommodate all of the sizes, there are, I think, 11 charts in the pattern, and so it just became a bit too unwieldy to have all of those as written instructions. And it's not a simple repeat either. So because of the eyelet patterning and wanting to keep it even, so there's an even distance in the back, centre, across the sizes, and the front as well, to keep a nice neat line, I needed to provide quite a few charts for those. The charts themselves, I would say, are not that challenging. It's just eyelet lace, yarn over, and knit 2 togethers. So maybe it would be a good opportunity to have a try at a chart. It's not a more complicated lace chart. And if you just go line by line, hopefully you'll be able to work your way through. However, if charts really are not for you and you like the style of this cardigan, perhaps you might consider the twist cardigan that has no charts. It does have a handy progress table, so you can tick off your rows as you go, and you might find that a lot more straightforward. And perhaps after a twist, you might feel adventurous and ready to tackle the charts of the Holey Moley. So hopefully I haven't put you off at this point with the talk of charts and short rows. We've seen some beautiful versions coming out of the test knit in a gorgeous range of colours, and plenty of the test knitters are ready to cast on a second. So they've enjoyed the project and the results are really fantastic. And I'm grateful for all the testers who have participated in the test. And now I'm feeling really confident to share this pattern with the world. Also, before the test knit, I always have my patterns tech edited. And this one was one that had me exclaiming holy moly quite a few times. There was a lot of back and forth as we worked through all the charts and trying to get the most condensed version of the pattern possible. And then of course after the test knit, my tech editor and I do a post-test review of the pattern. Shout out to Lisa from Meanest Mummy Knits, who has been working with me for many, many years now, and grateful for her work too. And also on test knitting, if that's something that you'd find yourself interested in participating in. To hear about my tests, I have a special newsletter list just for test knitters, and I'll post a link to that below. And you can sign up, and I send out a newsletter to the test list maybe once a month or so when I have a test knit. It might be a scarf, shawl, it might be a garment. And if you find yourself interested in the test, you can find out more and apply. And if you're not interested, that's fine. Just wait until an email comes along with something that interests you. Generally, I run my tests in my Ravelry group, and we'll have a dedicated test thread in there. I find that works well for me. I'm able to ear burn people, and people can chat and show each other their work. However, I know that not everyone uses Ravelry or is able to use Ravelry, and I'm always happy to have a version of the test via email as well. So if you find yourself not able to use Ravelry, please still sign up to the newsletter list if you're interested in testing, and I'll work out a way to accommodate you during a test as well. I love to be able to include everyone that I can. Okay, so a bit more about the yarn that I used for my Holey Moley cardigan. The first one, I knew I wanted a linen yarn. I do love linen, however, my favourite kind of linen yarn is the chainette version. So it's been kind of knitted into a strand that gives it a bit more flexibility. I find it easier on the hand while knitting, and it's immediately lovely and drapey. I don't need to kind of wash it in as such. Shibui Knits used to make a beautiful version of this kind of linen, chainette linen. However, they're not producing yarn anymore. So I hunted around, and I most likely used Yarnsub, which is a favourite tool of mine. Yarnsub.com, I'll link to them in the notes below as well. Yarnsub is a fantastic resource for trying to find a comparable yarn if you're not able to access yarn that's recommended or suggested in a pattern. So you can go to Yarnsub. If there's a yarn in the pattern that you're unfamiliar with, or you just can't buy in your local area, or it's too expensive, then type that yarn in, and then Yarnsub will automatically generate a number of options that are comparable. Some will be almost exactly the same, some will be a good match, and explain the characteristics of the yarn, the properties of the yarn. Really helpful place to start looking for substitutes for yarn if you're not able to use a particular yarn in a pattern. So either through Yarnsub or just my hunting, I came across the Knit Picks Lindy chain yarn, which I've got here. This particular skein is their bare 100-gram skein. They also have a range of this yarn that's been dyed, and they're 50-gram balls. I bought some balls that were a kind of peachy colour that I thought I might use. I had bought them a year or so ago for a different project and didn't end up using them. And I thought I might use them for the summer weight cardi. However, I became a bit obsessed with the idea of a green version. I just wanted a green summer cardigan in my wardrobe. And I looked through their website and I couldn't find quite the right green. They had a few beautiful greens, but not the one that was sparking joy for me. So then I discovered they had their bare skeins, and I bought a pack of those. I got enough left for another cardigan, so the pack is quite good value to buy. I bought those and I knitted up in this colour, knowing that I would dye it afterwards. So I'll show a couple of photos of it in this colour. And then I boldly dyed it after I'd finished. I took some photos beforehand just in case I destroyed it, but I also figured, well, I could always go darker and over dye if I'm not happy with it. I don't mind wearing darker colours. And I was quite heavy-handed. I bought a gorgeous khaki colour. I like using Procyon dyes. There's a store in Australia called Craft Colour that supply excellent dyes. I'm not a stranger to dyeing clothes, so it didn't bother me to give it a go, although it's slightly risky. And I was heavy-handed with the green dye. It was probably a little bit darker than I initially had been planning on, but I still love it. It's a great colour. I'm very happy with it. And it's pretty even. And I find the Procyon dyes are the ones I get the most even results with, as long as I just stick to the process, which is lots of stirring, slowly adding other materials to the dye pot, like soda ash and salt. I just follow the instructions and generally have good results. I think the only times when I'm unhappy is when perhaps I'm dyeing a cotton garment that used a nylon cotton to sew with, so sometimes that doesn't dye as well. So occasionally I've had some less than happy results, but I was pretty delighted with the colour of this and wore it quite a lot over summer. And then when it came to the wool version, I had this shade of colour in my mind, autumnal colour that I thought I'd wear a lot in autumn and just felt it would be a nice fit in my wardrobe. So I hunted around. Again, I had considered dyeing it myself. So my hunt led me to this yarn, Rebel yarn from Outlaw Yarns, who are a New Zealand-based yarn dyer. And I've been familiar with their yarns for a long time. So I guess when I was hunting, I knew that they do beautiful, rich, saturated colours. I decided to have a look on their website and see what I could find. And I knew I wanted a fingering weight yarn and something a little bit more rustic, not a superwash, just a little bit more of a rustic base. And I was delighted when I jumped on and found this, the Rebel Light. They also have, maybe it's just Rebel or Rebel Worsted, a heavier version of this same base. And this colour just leapt out at me, which apparently is a bit of a cult fave for that brand. I didn't know, but I'm not surprised. It's a really, really gorgeous colour. And I know I've been wearing this cardigan in a few videos here and there over the past few months and always get comments on the cardigan. I think it's certainly an eye-catching colour and I love it. So it was great to have my first experience using Outlaw yarns, and it's really beautiful. It's so light, feels durable and comfy. Yeah, I would certainly use it again, and I'm looking forward to trying out their heavier base as well for a garment. So it's woolen spun, 80% merino and 20% New Zealand half bred, and they come in 50-gram skeins. I think they also have mini skein versions that you can get as well for colour work, so it could be fun to do a twist cardigan in one of these. Or, as I say, I do want to do just a cropped wool, bit warmer version of the Holey Moley. So that's the yarn, the inspiration, a little bit about the pattern, the construction. I'm not quite sure what else to add at this point. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below and I'll answer them, or message me. If you have any suggestions for anything you'd like to see in a future episode, let me know. I am always happy to go back and revisit some older designs, and occasionally I will. I talked a little bit about twist today. Probably something else to talk about briefly is the sizing. I have a schematic and chart with the 2 fit size. So the 2 fit size is between 30 and 60 inches with 2-inch increments, or 70, 75 and 150 centimetres with 5 centimetre increments. The 2 fit size is a good place to start deciding which size to pick for you. If you look at your 2 fit size, then it will show what the finish measurements are, and if you perhaps take a garment that you like wearing, you like how it fits, and compare the finish measurement sizes to that garment, that will help guide you to choosing the right size for you. As I said, it's open front, so it's a little bit forgiving in that way, that it's a bit more of a relaxed fit. So I hope I've inspired you to cast on your own Holey Moley cardigan or cardigans. I'm pretty inspired to cast on another one for me. I do have a bit of a knit queue. I'm working on some fresh cardigans for the end of year knit along, so it may be a little while before I get another one of these on the needles. I'll be back soon with another episode chatting about the Soul Shawl MCAL and the full reveal, which you've probably all seen by now, but I'll share a bit more about that project in the next episode of the Design Tales. So be sure to comment if you have a question or if there's anything you'd like me to talk about in a future episode. And until next time, thanks for watching.